I'm sorry, Wrath fans, but a new man is in town. Goodbye, Mr. Old Green Bow Cav, and hello, new guy. Yeah.
Let the lesson begin.
What's up, guys? Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. Today's video is going to cover our upcoming Grand Hero battle featuring Sedgar. So, honestly, with all the suboptimal or subpar freebies or free heroes we get, there's actually quite a lot of cool things to talk about here with Sedgar because he comes with good fodder. He's potentially a very good meta unit. He's an upgrade to the old Wrath and Python Green Bow Cav archetype. And honestly, he's pretty good in his stat spread as well. So if you thought that this guy was disappointing, well, hopefully this video may or may not change your mind, and it's gonna be, it's pretty exciting. As someone who's a Cecilia user, I will not find much use out of him, but if you're looking to put something that's green on your defense team, this is actually gonna be, in my opinion, one of the best freebie units you could definitely put there. And I'll also tell you about some synergies and give you some examples throughout this video why you may want to consider him before you even fodder him and then maybe regret it later. Keep in mind though, despite Wrath and Python getting outclassed, so to speak, they do technically keep up a little bit because of flowers. They get more access to flowers, whereas Sedgar only gets 5. So realistically, if you already invested into Wrath and Python, just give them more flowers and maybe inherit the builds or ideas that I showcase in this video. And Sedgar is just meant to be for those that don't know what to put on their defense that is green, or maybe you're new. Nonetheless, he's actually pretty solid, and let's jump into that. Smash the like button and sub. As always, that helps out the channel, extends its reach, does all that YouTube juice that makes this video and my content accessible. Alright, I'm going to actually go over the art, which I normally don't do, but I actually appreciate this one a little bit more than some of the other ones. So, I don't know what it is, but this particular style of art is really nice, and as you can see there, his shoulder is exposed, as opposed to his chest or abs on some of the other male models, but hey, pretty interesting to look at. So, let's jump into the stat spread and the weapon as well. So what is really cool about him is that he comes with instant bow, which is budding bow, which is an impact weapon. And why that's so important is because Cav units do not have any form of impact. They cannot use sturdy impact, they cannot use any of the impact skills to deny follow-ups. This is really important in today's game where there's a bunch of slow units that have auto follow-ups. If you throw this onto a Cav unit, that essentially does it. So any of the range units that we have in the game, there's very few that have this sort of impact weapon. Budding bow was a really good weapon to inherit, in my opinion, one of the best. And fire sweep was the alternative before this, but both of those were basically 5-star locked, and we finally have instant bow. So for you guys who use bow calves on defense, instant bow is a great pickup. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should fodder Sedgar, because again, let's go over him. As you can see here, his stat spread is actually quite offensive. It's 36-39 with a defense stat of 27, which is favorable. You do want a high defense stat. That's why someone like Python is still going to be pretty good. But in reality, Python and Wrath actually have a far less offensive stat spread than Sedgar and have to try to keep up using flowers. On top of that, Sedgar has a speed super boon, which can bring him up to 43 speed. So this guy is definitely more offensive. He's got that new age BST, and he's in a green color, which is pretty good in today's meta, which we'll talk about in a moment, of course. So the fodder and skills he comes with are instant bow, as we just mentioned, really good bow impact, so important. He comes with attack defense catch 3, which is actually pretty good for base kit. Like, you don't even really need to replace that to throw it on defense. Again, we'll talk about it in a moment, but it pretty much gives you 5 attack and 5 defense with pretty easy conditions to meet. Either your opponent's at 100% HP or they have a penalty. Both of those you likely will have on your defense team anyways in some form. So generally pretty easy condition to meet. You can definitely sub it out for something else like ARD speed res, I guess, but the attack is good and so is the defense. So realistically, you don't really have to change that. and chill defense is whatever, who cares. The catch here is definitely instant bow and the A skill. Finally, for you guys who may want to invest slightly but not something big, a budget build here is pretty easy to do. You just give them Poison Strike in the B, make sure you have other Cavs on your defense team, and give them Moonbow and you're good to go. So this is what you get out of literally the free copies. Doesn't really cost you much, except some feathers, and that's it. Now, what I also want to mention, of course, is for you guys who are considering something like this, I wanted to put up a sample AR defense team on the left there. Not everything is budget, of course, because ideally to create a basic defense team, you're gonna want a dual hero to start, which most people probably have Linja at the very minimum, but ideally some sort of dual hero to activate duel's hindrance. Ideally you have a 7-slot mythic such as Cyros, Odor, or not, and finally a combination of 2 dancers, although my defense uses 1, so you can still get away with that. And that is how you want to make the fundamentals. What you'll notice here on this sample, though, is that the Cavs, the high investment combat units, can all be easily merged up to +10. And Wrath is substituted there for Sedgar because we don't have Sedgar yet. So realistically, the actual combat units are there, can be merged up, and are very powerful and synergistic with each other, which I'll go into right now. So as you guys will see, some of the budget like things you can do, and I covered this in the previous videos with Arete. Essentially, now that we have a defense wave seal, you can easily inherit something like Roarblade on her. If you use her in Dark Season with Not, they both synergize from those buffs because of not having like a bonus doubler effect, and Roarblade obviously gets more powerful based on buffs. So you can really do some cool things here with Not, and Arete being that red Cav, for those of you that don't have like dual Lift or dual Sigurd or legendary Sigurd or whatnot. This is like the trifecta of really good F2P Cavs now. Honestly, Cecilia is a solid substitute for Sedgar, and I use Cecilia myself. She basically snipes all mythics, but unfortunately for Cecilia, she doesn't have that impact weapon and pretty much suffers against a lot of other matchups in a very like blowout kind of way. Like for example, Cecilia does literally nothing to Henriette except heal her, but Sedgar here with instant bow actually will deny the Henriette double, the auto double, because of instant bow, and he is able to take a single hit. Therefore he could set up something like Wings of Mercy or a dance, and with Poison Strike you're even creating more of an annoyance. Even though he likely would do something like 0 damage, he still can set up things really nicely. Keep in mind the alternative to this was Fire Sweep Bow, which you just use to just hit Henriette and then cause a lot of like chip damage. But the problem with that is you usually needed some sort of dancer follow-up, and that was a bit inconvenient. By using something like 2 dancers, you could have Arete here as a 7th unit, set up her Roarblade fully buffed, and having a second dancer with Sedgar going in and like attacking a far safe Henriette would mean that he's going to survive because of instant bow, and then a Wings of Mercy dancer comes in, or someone else on the team with Wings of Mercy can come in and really get things rolling. This is actually even more important now because Fjorm, the new Fjorm, has Null C built into her weapon as a far save unit, and something like Fire Sweep Bow isn't going to be as good as it was, and now instant bow is even more important. So this like trifecta, if you're just like trying to think of a defense team to work with, honestly, you put these 3 together with Not, run something like this, and it's going to be pretty nice. There's obviously way better units, premium ones to invest in and have. Obviously, like Dual Live, Dual Sigurd will do a lot more for you, but generally speaking, if I was starting out, I would start out with something like this nowadays. Okay, anyways, if you do go for the high investment sort of shenanigans with Sedgar, which I wouldn't blame you for, because again, he is GHB, long term he would get a weapon refine, 5 years from now, he's not going to cost much, and considering how many GHB revivals we've had, it's not really going to be that much grails to get him up to par at your own pace without having to rely on the gacha and basically never pulling a Balthus because IS didn't want to put him on focus. Thanks. Anyways, so high investment Sedgar is very powerful because if you actually look at the AR defense perfect green build, as I've called it, The dude literally reaches into the 70, 80s, even 90 attack stat, because that doesn't even have mythic blessings on it. So that is insane. And his speed goes up there to about 70 as well, which combined with instant bow means that not many units are going to be able to take that impact and retaliate. It would literally require like a null follow-up QR unit to be able to hit him back and kill him. Because if you're running something like lull attack defense with instant bow, you're also increasing his bulk quite a bit. If you factor in mythic blessings such as like Mirabilis for res or not with defense, he's going to be really bulky and hard to kill and really annoying to deal with in general. So this is like a nice, again, a nice freebie to use for sure, if not even better than some premium options without a doubt. Now, in terms of the sweeper function, if you want to use him in AR offense, he's just basically going to be what like Wrath, Python, and Legendary Leaf or any really like Bow Cav is going to do. So you give him Brave Bow, you give him like Deadeye, maybe Moonbow or Luna, it's all fine. Give him Trace ideally so he can like hit and run successfully. Blade Session, there's not really much to explain there, just basically kill the enemy team with a lot of dance repositions and pew 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 shooting. Finally, for those of you that want to fodder Odor for whatever reason, he can run in Arena as well, and he's fine there too. The benefit of Instant Bow is the impact, of course, so combining that impact bow with G-Dual Cav is nice. It means you don't necessarily have to run Wind Sweep, because he should be able to survive most attacks and then get out and just kind of kill things maybe slowly and provide yourself with that distance needed to make Arena pretty comfortable. But yeah, that basically covers my thoughts here on Sedgar. A short and sweet video. Hopefully you guys do take something out of this. When it comes to a unit that actually is worth looking at, Sedgar is interesting to me, and maybe he'll be interesting to you. Any of the builds I show here, and actually like the mechanics or utility of the unit, can definitely be replicated by something like Wrath and Python. If you've already invested into them or were considering it, then go for it. Just keep in mind that Sedgar is a bit more optimized, and if you wanted to min-max, then he is a solid unit to consider for that purpose. And with that being said, thank you for watching as always, guys. Smash the like button, sub if you haven't already. If you love this content, consider the Patreon in the description below. I'm going to be releasing the Should You Pull video maybe around the same time, and I'm also going to be doing a Hall of Forms video and a Floret, Ascendant Floret video as well coming up. So look forward to all of that. And yeah, check me out on Twitch if you want more Aether Raids gameplay, Arena gameplay, and all that F2P goodness. See you in the next one. Peace.
It's over.